Today, I'm going to be talking about how sad it's going to be for each character if they were to die in Stranger Things Season 5, and I actually ranked them from least sad to most sad, top 10, of course, because I'm not going to go through every single character, and I do have 2 honorable mentions, so it's technically a top 12, but top 10 just sounds better. Before we get into the video, guys, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join my Discord down below where we talk Stranger Things every single day, and I am going to be talking about some news that we got earlier today regarding a Stranger Things spin-off and some other things I want to touch on. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so I guess the way I'm ranking this, like obviously it's an opinion-based list, right? Like it's how much I would be sad. So it's basically ranked as if, you know, how sad I'm going to be while I'm watching the show if these characters were to die. That's how I'm ranking it, not like objectively or anything, totally opinion based. So you guys can argue in the comments and switch up my ranking however you want. It's top 10, but I have 2 honorable mentions. The honorable mention, the person who would have been at the 12 spot, is Jonathan. I feel like out of all of the people I have listed, Jonathan, I would be sad, obviously, if anyone dies, I'm gonna be sad. Besides like Murray, because I kind of know he's gonna die, so it's just like whatever. I mean, I'm gonna be sad, I guess, but it's not like insane. Murray didn't make the list. Jonathan at number 12. I feel like Jonathan, it depends how he dies, you know, that really will decide how sad I would be. Like if he sacrifices himself for Nancy or Will, or he just dies in a heroic moment, I feel like I would be more sad if he sacrificed his life for his family rather than just like made a heroic moment and ended up dying that way. Or if he died like a brutal death, I guess that would be sad, you know? Like I'm not that attached to Jonathan's character, but if he had like the most brutal death in Stranger Things history, which would be pretty freaking brutal if that was the case, like more brutal than Chrissy or Eddie or whatever, then yeah, that might like give me shock value to be a little bit more sad. But out of all the characters I have listed, I feel like I would be the least sad if Jonathan died. And at number 11, who's also an honorable mention, but it would be more sad than Jonathan, is Robin. Now, I know a lot of people would be like, why is she not in your top 10? It's mainly just because I never really got that attached to Robin's character. I mean, she's only been in the show since season 3. It's not like she's a season 1 character, but obviously I like her character and everything. And if she dies, I wouldn't be that surprised because Maya Hawke has mentioned that she wants Robin to die, you know, like a heroic death. She's mentioned that multiple times in different interviews. Now, Joe Keery also said that he's not gonna die or whatever. So like these actors just say whatever comes to mind and it doesn't really matter. But I wouldn't be that surprised if Robin dies. And if she were to die, I would definitely be more sad than Jonathan. And it also depends how she would die. Like, would she die for Vicky? Would she die for Steve because they're like best friends? Or would she just die for the group? Like, that would really depend. But yeah, I guess I just never really got that attached with Robin's character compared to my top 10 list. So that's why she's at number 11. I really don't have much else to say. Okay, to start off the top 10, at number 10, I'm actually going to talk about 10 and 9 together. At number 10, I have Lucas. At number 9, I have Mike. Either, you could honestly switch those, but I kind of just like ranked them along with each other. Lucas would be extremely sad if he died for Max or whatever after like Max finally came back to life and then he sacrificed himself. But I also don't think Lucas is going to die, so I don't think that this is even gonna matter. So that's kind of why I put him low on the list. And same with Mike. I really don't think Mike's gonna die either, but if he did die for like Holly or Karen or Elle, obviously it would be depressing. But I really don't think Lucas or Mike's going to die. That's why they're at number 10 or 9. But obviously if they did die, I would be more sad to watch Lucas and Mike die than Robin and Jonathan, personally. That's just me though. They're part of the OG kid group, you know, the first scene of the show, all that stuff, or the first scene after the intro. So yeah, I would definitely be more sad if Lucas and Mike died than Robin or Jonathan. Okay, now we're getting into the characters where I would actually be like pretty devastated if they died. Like the next 8 characters I'm going to be talking about, I would be pretty depressed, like in real life, if any of these characters died in the show, and one of them probably is going to die. At number 8, I have Nancy. I just feel like Nancy's death, like, first of all, I feel like I've talked about it a lot, but I do think it's a possibility that Nancy dies. I'm not saying it's a for sure thing, but, you know, the weird thing about the Stranger Things filming part, like all the leaks and everything, is that there were so many leaks saying that none of the main characters are gonna die, like only a few characters are like the people were just trying to predict who's gonna die, who's not gonna die. Oh, these characters are off limits, these characters are not off limits. I feel like none of that shit matters to me. Like, I feel like if you're running a show this big and you have people on set who you know you are gonna leak things to people on Twitter or, you know, their news sources, you're not gonna tell them what the outcome's gonna be or whatever, you know? I don't know. I feel like everyone could die. I feel like there's not one character that's absolutely off limits. It's Stranger Things. It's the biggest show of all time. I feel like any of these characters could die, and I think one of those characters that could die is Nancy. And back to how sad I would be if she died, I feel like I'm definitely a little bit more attached to Nancy than like Jonathan for sure. Just because Nancy is always, I don't know, her character arc, I feel like has been really, really, really cool. Like, she's been sort of like this badass character solo, and then, you know, her love triangle with Steve and Jonathan is really annoying. So that kind of like is why she's not higher, I guess, because her love life annoys the shit out of me because I do not like that love triangle. But you know, if she dies, she's going to be sacrificing herself for someone, or like stepping in line, and like, you know, how she did with Vecna, she like went up there and was the first one to like attack him with the shotgun or whatever. So I feel like she's going to be first in line and sacrifice herself. So it's going to be a sad death regardless. And Nancy's really grown on me the last few seasons, especially in season 4. I did like Nancy's character a lot, but I do feel like that love triangle is the main reason why she's not higher, because it really does annoy me. Like, I don't think you guys understand. I have a video coming out about ships, and I've been one to not talk about ships at all, okay? Because I'm not like that into it. But the Jonathan, Steve, and Nancy stuff, I have strong opinions about it. So I really did not like how they had Nancy talk to Steve in season 4, but that's neither here nor there. Nancy at number 8. At number 7 is Joyce, the mother of the show. Of course, it would be depressing. Like, she goes through all of this. She watches her son almost die. You know, she goes through all this trauma. She watches the love of her life almost die. And she finally gets with the love of her life after all these years. And, you know, it's the final season. Will's okay, all this stuff. And she's the mom of the show. Everyone relies on her. And then she dies after going through all of that. Yeah, that would be depressing. I would be depressed, no doubt about it. I really don't feel like she will die just because of what I just said. Like, she's been through so much. Are they really just going to kill her off now? I don't see that happening. I really don't see Joyce or Hopper dying, but if she does die and sacrifice herself for Will, oh my God, don't even get me started. That would be so depressing. So Joyce at number 7. At number 6 is Dustin. Now, obviously, Dustin would be higher, but I really, really, really don't think Dustin's going to die. And if he does die, the reason why it's going to be so depressing is because I feel like the only way Dustin would die or should die is if he sacrifices himself for Steve, because he doesn't want to lose another friend, another like big brother. So his death, if it happened, would arguably be the most depressing, because I think that's how he would die. So that's why Dustin's at number 6. Obviously, like, I don't see him dying. He's like, you know, the comedic guy of the group. He's always, you know, happy-go-lucky, but he just went through a very depressing event, so we don't know how he's going to be acting in season 5, if he's going to be over it or whatever, or he's still going to be Dustin. Like, I don't know. I don't know how he's going to be, but I really don't see him dying. Going into our top 5 now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky to judge things, I guess. But breaking our top 5, at number 5 is going to be Will Byers. It's similar to my Elle reasonings, but Elle's my favorite character, so we'll get to her when we get to her. But Will has been through so much. I mean, literally at the start of, we only saw like normal kid Will for like a couple minutes. And then he got captured by a freaking alternate dimension monster. Okay, so Will got captured by a monster, was in the Upside Down for over a week, and then after that, he was possessed for a whole season, pretty much. And then in season 3, he was going through like weird problems, I guess. Like, he just like wasn't fitting in and was still feeling the mind flayer and everything. And then in season 4, I feel like season 4, we got a little bit more like a happier Will, I guess. You know, wanting to express his feelings for Mike and all that stuff. But overall, like, we haven't really seen that happy of a Will Byers or that normal of a Will Byers at all, you know, especially like season 4 literally ended with him holding his neck. So with all the stuff that Will's been through, even though he's not like one of my favorite characters, that death would just, I think, hurt more because of that. because of all the trauma he's been through and everything. So yeah, Will's at number 5 for obvious reasons. I feel like if he would die, it would be sacrificing himself, to save everyone, similar to Elle if she would die. So yeah, that would be like a more impactful death for sure. So all of it combined would just combine into this big ball of depression, basically. So yeah, Will at number 5. At number 4, one of my favorite characters of all time, Steve Harrington. I feel like Steve Harrington's going to die, and that actually pushed him up the list because I feel like there's a higher chance of him dying than pretty much anyone else on this list. I feel like Steve, if they're going to kill off a main character, they're going to kill off Steve Harrington. But like I said, I don't know if they're going to do that, but I think there's a better chance than most characters. And if Steve would die, obviously it would be him. There's several situations where Steve could die. He could be like guarding the kids and like sacrificing himself for all of the kids, sort of like in season 2, how he was prepared to do that. And then he could also sacrifice himself for Dustin because we saw him and Dustin alone in the Upside Down, if they get into a situation there. And then he could also like sacrifice himself for Jonathan and Nancy if they were in a situation and he saw how happy they were together and he just wants them to be happy and he sees them about to die and he just jumps in front of them. If he died like that, that would be number 1. I don't even want to get into that. But yeah, those like the 3 situations I think he would die, and either one like is gonna hit hard for me because he's one of my favorite characters for sure. His redemption arc was awesome. One of my favorite redemption arcs like of all time in TV. So Steve at number 4, which means our top 3 is just depressing, more depressing, and even more depressing for me. At number 3 is Hopper. Like I said with Joyce, I don't think he's going to die. He is the dad of the show, so that's another thing. Like the mom and the dad of the show, I really do think they're okay unless like everyone dies, I guess. But Hopper already almost died like 5 times, so I really don't think he's going to die in season 5. Like he almost died in the tunnels in season 2, episode 5, at Dig Dug, and then he almost died at the end of season 3, or he basically did die, and then he got tortured in season 4 and almost died fighting the Demogorgon. Like, he almost died so many different times, so I really don't see him dying in season 5, but if he would die, I feel like the only way Hopper should die or would die would be him sacrificing himself for 11. I don't think it should be for Joyce. I don't think it should be for any other of the kids. I don't think it should be for the group. I don't think it should be for literally anyone. I feel like if Hopper dies, the only way he should die is if he sacrifices himself for 11, because he lost his daughter Sarah when he was young and she was young, and he gained his daughter 11, and I feel like that means more to him than anything else in his life. And I feel like if she was in danger and the only way for her to survive was for Hopper to sacrifice his life, I feel like he would do it. So that's why I feel like that should be like the only way he dies, I guess, unless everyone on the show dies, which that would be like horrible. So yeah, Hopper at number 3. He's my second favorite character of all time. So he's at number 3 for a reason. He's been through a lot. Obviously, all these characters have been through a lot, but especially Hopper for sure, like with his backstory and everything, losing his daughter and, getting into drugs and all that stuff. So Hopper at number 3 would be depressing. At number 2 is Max. Now, the weird thing about this is Max isn't even in my top 5 characters of like who I like on my ranking. Maybe on my rewatch, she might make it in. I doubt it though. She's honestly at like 7 or like 6, somewhere around there, 8. So, but she's at number 2 on how sad I would be if she died, because like I said, all these characters have been through so much. None of them, I don't know. Like besides like 11 and Will, none of them have come even close to what she's been through, I feel like, at this point. Because in season 2, she watched her brother die, which was hard, even though she didn't really like him. She obviously had love for him because, he was her brother. So she went through that. And then in season 4, she was not only like sort of possessed, but she was just being haunted the entire time. And then she had the inevitable looming death on her. Like, she knew that she was going to die, most likely. She wrote all those letters, and then in season 4, she thought she was going to die. They played Running Up the Hill. She survived, so she went through that traumatic event. And then at the end of the season, she had it all planned out that she was gonna play the music and all that, in that she was going to get out of the trance, but Jason attacked Lucas, so it didn't go to plan, and she literally died. Her heart stopped. She was in a full body cast, all this stuff, in a coma. Elle tried to visit her mind. Her mind wasn't even there. So if she comes back to life and is like fully healthy and then dies, or just dies like in the coma or something, yeah, forget about it. That's going to be depressing. You guys get the point, but like, that's why I'm just trying to explain to you, like, that's why I would be sad about it, because of like what she went through in season 4. I feel like was pretty, not many characters have even come close to that amount of trauma. So her dying would definitely be very, very sad. And at number 1, of course, I have 11. 11's my favorite character. Obviously, she's the star of the show. She's been in since season 1, episode 1. And if we're talking about like traumatic backgrounds, 11 was literally raised as a science experiment for like the first 7 years of her life, 8 years of her life. I don't know how many years it was, but for the first good portion of her life, she was raised as a science experiment. And then, you know, to this day, she doesn't really fit into society in Stranger Things. So she's been through a lot. She's already like put herself on the line so many different times, been through so much, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. You get the point. And she's my favorite character. So obviously I would be the most sad. And there's a lot of ways 11 could die. But I feel like the best way for her to die, if she's going to die, would be to sacrifice herself for the world. Not for the kids, not for Hopper, not for anything like that. I feel like the best way for 11 to sacrifice herself, she's a superhero, she should sacrifice herself for the entire world. Like if she doesn't die, then the world dies. That's how big I would want the death to be, because of how important she's been throughout the whole entire show and how important she's been portrayed throughout the entire show. So I feel like her dying is likely, like it's possible. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen, but it's definitely possible. And if it does happen, I think it should be like the biggest and most important death possible, and not just like, oh, she sacrificed herself for her childhood friends or something, you know? I feel like it needs to be bigger than that. So my full ranking is the top 12. I guess we'll just rank it out. At number 12, Jonathan. At number 11, Robin. At number 10, Lucas. At number 9, Mike. 8, Nancy. 7, Joyce. 6, Dustin. 5, Will Byers. 4, Steve Harrington. 3, Hopper. 2, Max Mayfield. And 1, 11. That is my ranking of how sad I would be if any of those characters died. And yeah, I feel like it's honestly I think it's a pretty good list, and I hope I explained myself a lot, or you know, really good, even though it was a total yap session. But I really do feel like that's a pretty good ranking, and that kind of, you know, I don't know, I'll be doing a rewatch, so I'm probably going to do a whole nother ranking of characters. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that ranking, if you guys agree with it. Now let's go through some news that we got today about a new Stranger Things, or the Stranger Things spinoff. Okay, so basically the spinoff called Stranger Things Tales from 85 is an animated series. It's going to release probably sometime next year, late next year, 2027, which sounds crazy, but it's going to release probably next year, I would say, 2026. And today we got the news that the series is actually going to take place between seasons 2 and 3, and it follows the Hawkins kids facing new monsters. The weird part about this is that it's not classified as like a canon story, a canon event or whatever. It's basically described as a continuation of the exploration of the Upside Down. It's basically what I'm getting at, or what I'm like feeling. So yeah. You know, between seasons 2 and 3, I feel like that's a good era. And then they also said the story is inspired by the real Ghostbusters, and the animation is inspired by the Arcane and the Spider-Verse films. So I think that's pretty freaking cool. But yeah, so we got our first real information about the new animated series. I'm really hoping we're gonna get a live action announcement after Stranger Things season 5 announces, ends. Maybe even at Stranger Things Day. I feel like that would be pretty cool, a live action spinoff announcement. And they said that any live action spinoff is not going to be canon, or like a sequel, I guess. They said like it's not going to be a sequel. So it's going to be new actors and all that stuff, but it's going to be set in the Upside Down. And the Duffers have emphasized so much that they want this to be like a universe, like an MCU, or the Stranger Things universe. So I'm really hoping we get more and more announcements regarding spin-offs in the future, but I'm really excited for this Stranger Things Tales from 85 just to see more Stranger Things content. I feel like that's going to be really cool. That's all I have for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you guys want more videos, make sure to comment some ideas, join my Discord down below, drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.